The movie opens with ravens perched on a tree outside an apartment, where priest Jong-soo performs an exorcism on Ji-yoon as her mother prays outside. He sprinkles holy water, making Ji-yoon writhe in pain and cry out, asking if God has forgotten her. Jong-soo silently picks up the crucifix and begins reciting prayers. Ji-yoon, trembling in agony, asks why it hurts so much and why God has abandoned her. Suddenly, blood pours from her mouth, and she begs him to kill her, or if he is afraid he won't go to heaven. Then she suddenly bursts into eerie laughter, taunting him as a weak man unworthy of her faith. Then, in a heavy voice, she asks how such a feeble man could hope to stop it, and taunts that the poor girl only believed in him because he was a priest. The demon then begins tormenting Ji-yoon further, prompting Jong-soo to press the crucifix against her chest and apply holy oil on her forehead before continuing his prayers. As he chants, something shifts in Ji-yoon's throat, and black smoke billows from her mouth. But in Ji-yoon's voice, the demon cries out to her mother for help. Ji-yoon's mother opens the door and rushes in, but the demon snaps awake and hurls the crucifix aside. Her mother asks what Jong-soo has done to her daughter, and during this, the demon frees itself and leaps off the bed. They turn to see Ji-yoon on the windowsill, and Jong-soo rushes to stop her, grabbing her hand as she jumps. Ji-yoon pleads for help, insisting it isn't her, while the demon possesses her mother and claims to have existed before God. It then overtakes Ji-yoon, declaring that since God is everywhere, so are they, and taunting that God has forsaken you. The demon vows to return, rip Jong-soo's family apart, and cast them into a hell where rats will devour them. The demon cackles, then sinks its teeth into Jong-soo's arm, causing it to collapse and die. The flock of ravens scatters into the sky, except for one that hangs upside down from a branch, revealing the presence of the demon.
Comment. Subscribe to Recapss Horror.
Next, we see that Jong-soo's brother, Gang-gu, has moved to another place because of Jong-soo's actions. While everyone is busy settling in, Hyun-ju wanders off to the other side of the property. Talking on the phone, the door of the neighboring house swings open on its own, and it feels as if someone is watching her from inside. Meanwhile, Ma-young-ju tells Sun-woo, "Don't even dream about seeing Uncle," expressing that she's fed up with churches, gods, and everything else. Sun-woo says she shouldn't feel that way, but Ma-young-ju says she is getting Dad to return Jong-soo's stuff, so put it in the basement. That night, they hear strange noises coming from the house next door, and notice a man doing something in the opposite house. Gang-gu asks if he should go talk to him, but Ma-young-ju advises against making a scene on their very first day. The next morning, Ma-young-ju admits she thought a house bought at auction for so cheaply would be disappointing, but now that they've settled in, she actually loves it. Later, Jong-soo gets a call from Woo Jong, who excitedly tells him that they've moved, and the new place is really cool. He asks when he will visit, but Jong-soo explains that he's a bit busy, though he promises to come by. Suddenly, Woo Jong hears a scream and says he has to go. Father Choi visits Jong-soo, and Jong-soo asks about his request to leave the priesthood, to which Choi explains that the diocese hasn't approved it. Instead, he suggests an overseas mission, a chance to leave the past behind and get a fresh start. Meanwhile, Ma-young-ju and her children discover a dead cat hanging outside their window. Hyun-ju asks about the commotion, and Ma-young-ju tells her to go back upstairs, but Hyun-ju catches sight of the cat and falls unconscious. Gang-gu visits the hospital and asks what the doctor said, to which Ma-young-ju says she just has a cold, likely brought on by the stress of the move. When they return from the hospital, they find their neighbor's truck parked in their spot, and realize he has also broken Woo Jong's chair, which had been placed there to reserve it. Gang-gu tells his family to go inside, saying he needs to make the neighbor move the truck. As Gang-gu steps into the neighbor's house, his eyes catch the grisly remains of animals on the ground, and nearby, a makeshift altar hints at dark, ritualistic sacrifices. Shocked by the sight, he moves forward and closes his umbrella, only to see sinister dead chickens hanging like grotesque ornaments, and on the far wall, horrifying faces are carved, twisted in silent screams. Gang-gu finds the door ajar and steps inside, the air thick with a stench that makes him close his nose. As he moves forward, his foot lands on something, and he finds it's a lifeless chicken sprawled across the floor. Trembling, he looks up and sees countless dead chickens, frogs, and other animals suspended from the ceiling, and a massive goat, brutally slaughtered, hangs in grotesque display. Gang-gu senses that something is very wrong and begins to step back slowly, but suddenly bumps into someone and sees a man standing silently behind him. Nervously, Gang-gu says, "We're your new neighbors," but the man doesn't move or respond. Gang-gu tells him to park his truck properly, but then decides to end the conversation and quickly walks away. That night, annoyed by the neighbors' constant noise, Ma-young-ju mutters that it's driving her crazy. But Gang-gu is still shaken from the day's events. Ma-young-jo asks if he talked to the neighbor, and just as Gang-gu is about to answer, Hyunju suddenly enters, startling Ma-young-ju. Hyunju complains about the noise keeping her awake, and soon Woo-jong and Sun-woo join them. Gang-gu calls the police, and the man apologizes for the noise. The officer suggests they try to make peace, but Gang-gu tells the officer that the man hung a dead cat outside their window. The man denies knowing what he means, but Gang-gu shows a photo of the cat, explaining that his child was terrified, yet still they took the photo. The officer asks if there's any proof that he did it, and Gang-gu urges them to take a look inside his house. Gang-gu enters the house with the officers, only to be shocked that the place is completely clean and everything he saw is gone. They notice a machine in the house and assume the noise came from it. The officers tell the man he should work during the day, and he responds that he understands. Gang-gu insists that he saw it in the afternoon, dead chickens dripping blood and skinned animals hanging inside the house. But the officer tells him to stop, reminding him that the man has already admitted to his wrongdoing. When they step outside, Gang-gu warns the neighbors to keep their doors locked. But the officer dismisses his concern and sends everyone home. As they leave, a flock of ravens is shown perched on the roof. Meanwhile, Jong-soo is reading in his room when a window suddenly bursts open, letting in a gust of wind. Calmly, he gets up, walks to the window, checks outside, and then closes it. He then goes to gather scattered papers when blood drips onto them, and he looks up to see Ji-yoon hanging from the ceiling, taunting that his rage and guilt will give her strength. She then bursts into laughter as blood pours from the walls and ceiling, drenching the room. He struggles to control himself, but slowly his anger begins to rise. Suddenly, Ji-yoon stops laughing and lunges at him, but he wakes with a start, realizing it was only a nightmare. Meanwhile, Hyunju is sleeping in her room when someone suddenly pulls down her blanket. Thinking it's Woo-jong, she says, "Stop fooling around or she'll destroy all his toys." But she soon realizes the room is empty and the door is open. Suddenly, someone grabs her by the hair and she is horrified to see Gang-gu. She asks, "What's wrong?" But he stares at her with filthy eyes and says, "My little girl has all grown up." Then he quietly walks out of the room, leaving Hyunju frozen, trembling in fear. The next morning, Sun-woo notices a crack in their family photo. She approaches her mom, but her mother doesn't look up. She asks Hyunju, "Is mom mad?" But Hyunju says, "Don't talk to me. I'm having a bad day." Just then, Woo-jong and Gang-gu arrive, and Hyunju stares at him, recalling the events of that night. But he doesn't remember anything. She gets up angrily and leaves from there, and he mutters, "What's with her now?" Ma-young-ju then comes to the table with a casserole and slams it onto the table, startling everyone. After this, she sits down and, before anyone can react, she starts eating frantically, as if she hasn't eaten for ages. The children watch, a little frightened by her intensity, but Gang-gu tells them to eat. Woo-jong takes a bite, only to immediately spit it out, saying, "It's so salty and tastes strange today." Ma-young-jo picks up the omelet, eats it frantically, and says it isn't salty at all, telling him to stop complaining and eat. But Gang-gu says he doesn't have to eat if he doesn't want to. Suddenly, Ma-young-ju hurls the plate off the table and snaps, How dare you complain when I said it's fine? She slams her hands on the table and asks why he never listens. Gang-gu asks, "What's with you?" And Woo-jong apologizes through his sobs. Ma-young-ju then quietly walks towards her room, leaving everyone trembling in shock. Meanwhile, Jong-soo is with Father Dean, and we learn that he has volunteered for an overseas mission. Dean gives him a cross necklace, explaining that it belonged to Ji-yoon. He shares that her mother came by to forgive him and apologize for the rumors, urging him to move on. But Jong-soo asks how he could, saying a foolish priest failed the girl who trusted him, and a parent lost her child. That night, when Gang-gu returns home, he asks Ma-young-ju why she acted that way in the morning. But she replies that she went to meet Si-jung and had already told him she'd be seeing her. She then asks if something happened, but he brushes it off, saying it's nothing. Later, while Sun-woo is showering, she hears the bathroom door creak open. She turns off the water and calls out, but no one answers. But as she wipes the fog from the glass, she is startled to see Ha-yoon-ju there. Ha-yoon-ju asks, "Aren't you sick of your siblings? They never die off." Sun-woo stammers, "What did you just say?" And Ha-yoon-ju asks, "Why did goddamn parents breed like rabbits? Don't you want to wipe them off like shit?" Sun-woo freezes at her words as Hyunju moves forward and whispers, "Just kill us all." Then, stepping back with a chilling smile, she turns and walks away. Sun-woo confronts Hyunju and asks, "What was that just now?" But Hyunju insists she's been in her room the whole time. Then she says she's glad she is there, pulls her inside, and shuts the door. Hyunju asks if she can sleep with her that night, telling her that Dad pulled down her sheets and stared at her. Just then, Gang-gu enters the room and asks, "What do you mean by that?" He growls, "Do you know how I raised you?" Then, grabbing a paper cutter, he snarls, "What are you accusing me of?" He advances toward them, but before he can strike, Sun-woo shoves him aside and runs out, only to be stopped by Gang-gu. He seizes Sun-woo by the hair and hurls her down the stairs, knocking her unconscious. He then turns to Hyunju and asks, "Did I scare you?" Terrified, Hyunju crawls away and rushes to Sun-woo, desperately trying to wake her. But when Gang-gu starts moving toward them, she panics and runs, fleeing in fear. Hyunju hides in the kitchen as Gang-gu enters, searching for her with a hammer in hand. Meanwhile, Sun-woo regains consciousness and begins looking for her sister until she senses someone behind her. Turning around, she recoils in terror at the sight of Gang-gu. She narrowly dodges his swing, and as he raises the hammer again, Hyunju yells for him to stop. Gang-gu turns toward her, and she strikes him with a pan, but it has no effect. He swings at her, but she dodges just in time, and only then does Gang-gu's voice suddenly call out. Hyunju freezes, only to see Gang-gu quietly walking away. Gang-gu then walks upstairs, confused to find his daughters trembling with fear. He asks, "What's wrong with you two?" And his foot knocks against the hammer on the floor. At that moment, Woo-jong steps out of his room, and Sun-woo quickly tells him to go back inside. Ma-young-ju steps forward, and Gang-gu asks, "What's with the hammer?" But instead of answering, she swings it at him, startling everyone. Gang-gu dodges her attacks and falls to the ground. Ma-young-ju turns on Sun-woo and charges, but Gang-gu takes the blows on his arm. He tries to stop her, but she shoves him aside, and when he asks, "What is the matter with her?" Ma-young-ju doesn't answer. Instead, she turns around, walks away, stepping on the shards of glass, and walks into another room. Just then, Ma-young-jo walks up and asks, "What's going on?" She is shocked to see their condition and asks, "What happened?" But no one can explain what just occurred. Confused, Gang-gu cautiously opens the door to check the room, only to find it empty, with the hammer lying on the floor. Meanwhile, Jong-soo is seen assisting Father Balthazar during an exorcism. The demon taunts the priest, asking, "Who are you telling me to leave?" It then torments the possessed boy, causing him to choke on his own blood. Father and Jong-soo begin reciting prayers, but the demon manages to break free and lunges at Father, forcing Jong-soo to intervene. As the video ends, Jong-soo tells his students about Jacob, a 19-year-old devout Catholic whose grief after losing his parents in a hit and run made him a target for the devil. The exorcism succeeded, but was unusually difficult. When a student asks why the devil targets angry people, he explains that anger clouds reason, breeds resentment toward God, and makes people easy to manipulate, often leaving the host destroyed while the devil survives. Later, he receives a call from Sunwoo, who tells him that something strange is happening at their home. She then hands the phone to Gang-gu, who asks for Jong-soo's help, explaining that the situation is serious and needs immediate attention. But he replies that there's nothing he can do. Gang-gu suggests discussing it in person, but he informs him that he is leaving Korea tonight. Ma Young-jo asks how Jong-soo could do this to them, insisting they're in this situation because of him. But Gang-gu snaps back, saying they moved here because she wanted to. Ma Young-ju fires back that Sun-woo left school because of it, and Ha-yoon-ju was bullied, though she kept it from him for his sake. Ha-yoon-ju sides with her mother, saying she doesn't want him to come, fearing that what happened to that girl could happen again. Gang-gu asks if she really thought he didn't know Jong-soo had been sending her rent money all along. He says, she took his money and call him ungrateful? Sun-woo tells them to stop, saying this is not the time to fight. Later, Ma Young-ju packs her things to leave the house and asks her children to come with her. But just then, the door opens, and Jong-soo enters the house. Gang-gu explains everything to him, saying he doesn't know what their neighbor is doing. But there are a lot of strange noises, to which Jong-soo suggests they all stay together tonight. Later, he approaches the neighbor's house, and the moment his foot touches the path, a fierce wind stirs, howling through the air, as if warning him back. Jong-soo looks around, his calm expression scanning the house from outside, and the air feels heavy, charged with something unholy. Closing his eyes, he begins to whisper prayers until the wind dies, and the door swings open on its own. Jong-soo steps into the house and sees blood-soaked crosses dangling on the ceiling, and a goat's mutilated body hangs from a towering crucifix. Just then, a sound breaks the silence, and he cautiously edges towards the door from where the sound came. As he opens the door, a few rats come out, and inside, in the dim glow, lies a corpse half devoured, its skin sagging, as more rats feast hungrily on what's left. He scans the room and finds a photograph, realizing that the neighbor was Ji-yoon's father. He recalls the devil's warning that it would return to this world, tear his family's flesh to pieces, and send them to hell where rats would devour them. A flashback reveals that the devil first took the form of Ji-yoon's mother, killed her husband, and then continued living in the house in his disguise. Later that night, as Woo Jong goes to the bathroom, the devil takes his form and walks into the hall where everyone is sleeping. He approaches Jong-soo and tries to stab him with a knife, but fails. Just then, Hyun-ju tells him to go back to sleep if he's done, and the devil quietly leaves. The next morning, Jong-soo tells the family that he installed a security camera last night, and the devil took Woo Jong's form last night, but it could be anyone. He thinks they may need an exorcism, but reassures them that he won't do it himself. He then asks why there are no crosses in the house, to which Gang-gu explains that they haven't fully unpacked yet, and the crosses are probably in the basement. Jong-soo asks Sun-woo to get the crosses and a statue of the Virgin Mary, but she seems unsure, so Hyun-ju volunteers to get them. Jong-soo takes Gang-gu outside the house and tells him that the devil is in Sun-woo's disguise. He explains that he added holy water to everyone's drinking water, and Sun-woo was the only one who didn't drink it, because it knew the water was blessed. He warns that if they act too quickly, it will realize what's happening, so they should wait patiently until Father Balthazar arrives. He asks Gang-gu to keep an eye on her, explaining that, for some reason, the father has asked him to pick him up at the airport. Jong-soo meets Father Balthazar and his assistants at the airport, where he is shocked to know that Father had not called him to pick him up. They rush home as fast as they can, and Jong-soo notices that his phone has no signal. Meanwhile, Hyun-ju is in the basement to get the crosses and the statue of the Virgin Mary, when the furnace door creaks open on its own. The lights flicker violently, and then go out, She fumbles for her phone and switches on the flashlight. But before she can leave, she is suddenly dragged toward the furnace, crashes against the cold metal, is pulled inside, the door slams shut, and the furnace roars to life, flames licking at the darkness. At the same time, Jung-soo is speeding home when a swarm of ravens suddenly appears, slamming against his windshield, though they are only visions visible to him, and his brakes fail, causing the car to hit the guardrail, plunge off the road, and crash down violently. Meanwhile, Gang-gu spots Sun-woo leaving the house, but believing it to be the devil in disguise, he slams her head against the door, knocking her unconscious. Myung-ju walks in and is shocked to see Gang-gu tying Sun-woo to the bed. She asks what he's doing, and he explains that Jong-soo believes this isn't their daughter. Myung-ju asks how he can be sure, and Gang-gu admits he doesn't know, but they must trust Jong-soo. Later, while looking through a photo album, Myung-ju realizes Hyun-ju is missing. She hurries towards the basement looking for her, but just then, Jong-soo enters the home and asks where Sun-woo is. He enters the room where she is tied up, and she pleads, "Please, stop Dad." Gang-gu asks what happened, and Jong-soo replies that he thinks they should delay the exorcism. Gang-gu asks why and inquires about his guests, to which he explains they were in an accident, and only he survived. Gang-gu asks if he can handle it alone, but he reminds him that someone has already died because of him. Gang-gu insists it doesn't matter, because she isn't his daughter, and this is the only way. Jong-soo protests that he can't, but Gang-gu counters, "What if delaying the exorcism means his family dies?" Jong-soo asks, "Am I not family too?" To which Gang-gu coldly replies that he doesn't care about his guilt, and orders him to act. But then, realizing he has overreacted, he falls to his knees, begging Jong-soo to help them. Jong-soo agrees to perform the exorcism, warning them that the spirit will mimic Sun-woo and beg them to let it go, but they must not listen. Sun-woo insists it's really her, but Jong-soo grabs a thin stick and strikes her hard, causing her to scream in pain while insisting it's really her. He instructs Gang-gu to hold her legs, warning that they might not get her back. Desperate to save his daughter, Gang-gu restrains her as she pleads, "Don't do this." Jong-soo places the cross on her again and strikes her repeatedly, continuing until the stick finally breaks. Meanwhile, a rescue team arrives at the accident site and begins trying to extract the father and his assistants, but during the process, the car battery sparks, triggering an explosion. Moments later, the chief spots someone at a distance from the wreckage, and it's revealed to be Jong-soo. At the same time, Jong-soo, actually the devil in disguise, continues striking Sun-woo, but Myung-ju, unable to bear it any longer, rushes forward to stop Jong-soo. She then tries to untie Sun-woo, but Gang-gu shoves her back, telling her to stay out of it. He then hears her muttering that he is a worthless parent and a coward. How could he have thought he could protect his family? Gang-gu snaps, saying that she is not his wife and asking, "How dare you mimic her and try to kill my daughter?" Consumed by rage, he begins to strangle her, and in desperation, she grabs a bottle and strikes him on the head, making him bleed. Enraged, he seizes her and smashes her head against their family photo, knocking her unconscious. Suddenly, a deafening noise rips through the room, shaking Gang-gu to his core, and darkness swallows everything around him. After a while, he looks up and sees Jong-soo's face twisted into a mocking, sinister laugh, making Gang-gu realize that he's facing the devil, and he tells Woo-jong to get away. He then lunges at the devil, but it effortlessly hurls him aside, sending him crashing to the ground. It then grabs a broken statue and raises it, ready to strike Gang-gu, but Jong-soo intervenes, reciting prayers to halt it, and with the powers of his prayers, the devil is forced to vanish. They both rush to the basement in search of Woo-jong, who mistakes Jong-soo for the devil and becomes frightened. But Gang-gu reassures him that it's really his uncle. They see smoke billowing from the furnace, and when Gang-gu opens the door, they find Hyun-ju's charred body, twisted and blackened. They are all devastated at the sight, and before they can react, Sunwoo slowly descends the stairs, calling out for her dad. She asks, "Why did you do that to me?" And before he can answer, she adds, "Did you hurt Hyunju too?" Gang-gu admits it's all his fault, lamenting how he could have failed to recognize his own child. But Jong-soo suddenly uncovers a mirror, revealing that it's the demon disguised as Sunwoo. He clasps his hands and begins reciting prayers, and the demon, exposed, now reveals its true, horrifying form. Jung-soo begins the exorcism, but the demon mocks him, mirroring his movements and reciting the prayers in reverse. As they continue, Gang-gu takes Woo-jong away from the scene, but the devil screams, and the mirror suddenly bursts into flames. And witnessing this, even Jung-soo is shaken with fear. The demon suddenly knocks Jong-soo down and leaps onto him, attempting to strangle him. Meanwhile, in the chaos, Gang-gu spots a bottle of holy water among Jong-soo's belongings and quickly throws it onto the demon, causing it to scream in agony as its body burns. Seizing the moment, Jong-soo pushes the demon aside and rises. He places his hand on Sunwoo's head, tracing a crucifix on her forehead. Then, closing its eyes, he begins reciting prayers. But after a while, in Sunwoo's voice, the demon pleads, "It hurts so much." Jung-soo, moved, pulls his hand back, only for the demon to hurl him aside. The demon turns to Gang-gu, and before he can react, it throws him above before slamming him one. It then grabs him by the neck, lifts him into the air, sneering, "Kneel and worship me, and I will let you serve me for all eternity." Meanwhile, Jong-soo begins reciting prayers, forcing the demon to release Gang-gu. He prays to the Lord, asking for the power to trap the demon within his own body. The demon begins to leave Sunwoo's body in the form of black smoke. And as the prayer reaches its end, the demon fully transforms into black smoke and surges toward Jong-soo. Entering his body, his cross necklace slips from his trembling hand, and as the demon begins to seize his body, he lets out a blood-curdling scream, causing a violent wind to erupt through the room, and light bulbs explode one by one. The demon snarls, advancing toward Gang-gu, but Jong-soo battles it from within. His face twisted in pain, he calls out desperately to Gang-gu, but receives no response. His eyes dart to a crucifix nearby, which he yanks free and slams into the floor with a deafening crack. Screaming at the top of his lungs, he calls Gang-gu again, who wakes up this time, and as he turns towards him, Jong-soo slides the crucifix toward him. He tells him, "Kill me," saying this will end then. Gang-gu hesitates, but Jong-soo tells him to hurry, and then he vomits blood onto the floor. He pleads with him to do it, and then his eyes slowly turn demonic. As he gets up and approaches Gang-gu, Gang-gu grabs the crucifix, trying to stop him, but Jong-soo seizes it and stabs himself. He apologizes to Gang-gu, then steps back, and as the demon struggles to escape his body, Jong-soo lets out a final, piercing scream before he dies, forcing the demon back into himself. Gang-gu emerges from the basement with Woo-jong, finally reuniting with Myung-ju and Sunwoo. Relief, fear, and exhaustion overwhelm them all, and tears stream down their faces as the weight of everything they endured finally hits.